Welcome to AAPC Starting Points, where we speak with newly certified members who are working and learn about their journey, how they did it, how they passed their exam, and how they found their first job. Today, our first interview is Abby Duncan. Abby, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I am great. Now, Abby, we've spoken before and talked about your
Yes.
journey. I'm excited to share this with our AAPC members. First off, tell us where you live and give us a little insight into what led you on this journey.
Okay. So I'm from a very tiny town in Nebraska called Claytonia. It's only about 230 people. Um, and so what led me on this journey was because my husband was previously military. And so I wanted something that I could take with me wherever he was. Um, and then he decided to get out. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to continue on this career path because it's very interesting and I've already started. So we ended up back here, and I continued with my education and ended up passing all of my exams within my curriculum. And then I didn't mess around. I didn't wait. I took the what do you call it? The AAPC exam,
Yeah,
my
the certification
certification.
exam.
Yep. I took that within 2 weeks of passing my curriculum. And all I did to kind of prepare for that was took the online AAPC pre-exams, if you will. Is that what they're called?
Yeah, just
Um,
the practice exams that are online.
yep, the practice exams. Um, I kind of took my average of all the exams and felt like I was ready, and I went for it. So, and I ended up passing on my first try.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Yeah,
I'm sure
thank
that
you.
was a huge relief.
It was
Okay, I'm going to
huge.
back this up a little bit, Abby. So, what what led you into coding, or how did you discover medical coding? Did you have family who worked in the field, or anything like that?
So, no, I didn't really have any family. I honestly I wanted a remote position, and um my previous background is all culinary arts. So, I was a pastry chef for a short time. I did marketing and catering. I was the marketing and catering manager for Famous Dave's when I lived in California. And so I just got on Google and started like researching remote positions because this was pre-COVID when I started this whole like journey, if you will, like looking for a new position and how do I get into a new career field. And so I Googled, remote positions
Yeah. What
and
jobs can get help me work from home or let
yeah,
me work from home? Okay.
and medical coding was one of those options. So then I really started digging into like what all that entails, and it's a lot more than I thought it was because you have to be a member of the APC or a HEMA, and you know what is that? And so you just have to um, really dig in and ask questions. Questions are number one in this field. Like there's no dumb question I've learned, which in the culinary industry, it's a very, very like blunt industry. And they're like, you're asking that question? Like that's a stupid question. And so this career field is a little more forgiving in that way, I guess.
Okay, that is awesome to hear. And you do have that first job. You are working now,
I
and
am.
you. We'll get to that story. I'm real excited to share how you found that first position. Um, but you're basically peeling back the layers of medical coding. It's all new to you. You found a career that may work. When did you realize that, hey, I might actually like coding as a career?
During my schooling, so as you know, like with this program, you have to take anatomy, physiology. I hated all of that. Like it seemed like the background work. And yes, you need it in order to know what you're talking about. But then once I actually started coding within my curriculum, like I was like, wow, this is something really cool, because nobody else knows what all these numbers mean, but I do. And like I would get my own medical bills in the mail and I'd be like, oh, I know what that code means. And I don't know, it's just kind of cool to have that knowledge and work through the books, and there's not always an answer for every like medical diagnosis, but um I don't know. There's always an answer that you can put in the like documents. For instance, like at my job now, like it's like, oh, well, they didn't have that exact thing done, but it's like that's okay. Insurance will work it out, and if it's not an acceptable code, they'll deny it, and then you work through another code. So,
Okay. Well, going back to your exam, so you said you took your course, you took the APC practice exams, and we always encourage that before taking the real exam because you want to be sure, right, that you're somewhat prepared and ready to go. Some sign that will give you confidence for that. What kind of things did you do to help you have a successful exam?
oh man, you know, I don't want to like it to sound bad or anything, but I didn't do a whole lot. I just read my books, I read my notes, like, just thought back to day one in my curriculum and like how that applied to the question that I was on. Or if you look, I'm not gonna lie, if you look at my CPT and ICD 10 books, there's no notes in them. None.
Wow. Did you tab them at all?
I
No.
tabbed them,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
that's it. I didn't
Okay.
write in my books or anything. But I was successful. I mean, I don't have a lot of advice or,
No insider
just
secrets.
yeah, and one thing though is like if I didn't understand something and it was just kind of like brain fog, I made sure I went back and reread everything in that chapter, or reread all of the notes at the beginning of the section, and all of that kind of stuff. So it was just like a lot of reading and rereading.
Now, and for those who are watching that may not have taken their course yet, maybe just looking at this career as a possibility, the code books are huge, and you're not
Yes.
reading them front to back, right? It's
No.
not like you have to memorize everything in there. And tell us, how did you use the books? Because you didn't have any notes in there. How do you utilize them in your exam to be successful?
The old school way. So what I'm learning now in my job is they don't use the index at all. I utilize the index through my entire exam. I just knew how to pace myself to an extent. Um, when I was taking my exam, I was not prepared for the format of it. So there's 100 questions, and you have a certain amount of time to finish that. And as it went through each section, it was like, okay, question 1 through 5. And it didn't give you how many you had left or anything like that. So I was really kind of scrambling towards the end because I'm like, I have no idea how many I have left.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it would just be nice to have that like 1 out of 100 completed, or 2 out of 100, or
Yeah.
whatever at the bottom. So it's all about pacing yourself and really knowing how much you can get done in your allotted time. But
Okay.
I did not take notes, so I don't know. Like a lot of people have notes. One of my coworkers now, she has a ton of notes in her book, and I'm like, I don't even know where to start with notes. So I guess I just like memorize stuff,
Yeah.
or like, it'll talk about, because I'm coding orthopedic right now. So like I'm specializing in foot and ankle for my providers. And so like I really like, I don't know, metatarsal. Like, what a metatarsal is? Just how my brain works is that like, okay, I know that's in the foot, and um, it's part of the toes, or connected to the toes in some way, because tarsal means toes.
Okay. All right. Well, it's
So
in there. It's all packed in, and it's not on the paper for a cheat sheet or anything. You just have it in your brain.
yeah.
Now, for perspective, when it is now April 18th, 2023, when did you pass your exam?
I think it was November 22nd.
Okay.
I would have
So
to double check, but it
just
was
the
recent.
past fall.
Yep.
Okay. And you passed the exam first try. Woo, right?
Yep.
Yay. And the next step is you kind of start again into that unknown, right? You go from the unknown of the exam and you pass and you're like, that's not it. then you have the unknown of finding a job. Tell us
Yes.
about that process.
So I was really kind of struggling finding a job, and then I saw your name on the Facebook page, and I had a couple other issues that I like brought up to you, and then we really started talking about, well, do you have a job yet? And
Yeah. Well,
I'm
we
like,
call like
no.
right. We talked on the phone.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
And
Alex
yeah.
was kind of I was just applying. I was basically cold calling on applying for jobs. Like, oh, that's a coding job. Let me apply there. That's a coding job. Let me apply there. And I had one interview that like went all the way to the end, and this was still with my A, but what I think happened is they ended up finding somebody that was a little more experienced, maybe had more coding experience in the background, because I went like 5 rounds of interviews and
Wow.
didn't get it. So then
So
I was
close.
really yeah, I was really like down on myself. And then I had that conversation with you, and my spirits were like lifted. I'm like, okay, this is not impossible. You sent me the links to your other I am AAPC interviews, and I watched those, and I took notes about their their
Oh,
tips and um, how they networked with people. And so then I started not only applying for coding positions, but also billing positions. Because we all know that billing is a huge part of coding, right? So um, I I was like, you know what, let's just see. I'll go to the interviews, see what they can offer me, tell them that I have my CPC-A and see what they can offer. And so I did that. And I landed an interview with Nebraska Orthopedics Center, and went into my interview and told them all of these things. And they're like, all right, well, I think we have a position for you. So,
wow.
but the whole caveat was, of course, everybody wants a remote position, right? But that's not always doable. Um,
Not
you
right out
have
of the
to
gate.
not right out
I
of the
mean,
gate. I mean, it's not impossible, but I was just kind of to the point on my journey where it's like if I don't start now, in a year I'm going to be wishing I did. Because I also contemplated taking the course that the AAPC recommends to drop that A
the
for that,
practicode.
yeah, Practicode. And then I got this job, and I'm like, you know what? I just with my family dynamic and stuff, and my husband wanting to switch career fields, this is probably the best answer. Um, so yeah, I got the job I was offered it in the beginning of March, and then just with scheduling and stuff like that, I started it last week. So
Okay. All right. And did you know anybody at Nebraska Orthopedic?
nope,
Any relationships, any connections? Okay, so this is a
none.
cold resume application submitted and they
Yes,
contacted you.
yes.
Okay.
Um, the other thing though with it was so in the culinary industry, you it's very informal. You go in, you're like, hey, can I speak with the chef, the general manager, whatever? Um, and you leave with an answer, like whether you got the job or not. This one was a little different. I submitted my application, HR reached out to me, and then they are recently going through a merge with another orthopedic center. And so somehow after she sent me the email saying, hey, I want to do an interview with you, it got lost in her email or something.
Oh
So
no.
then me being like the go-getter that I am, I called the center, and I'm like, hey, HR called me and they wanted to do an interview, but I haven't heard back from them or anything like that. So, um, what's my next steps? How do I get a hold of the head of the HR? And so they were able to help me get back to her. Well, then I did a phone interview on Friday. And then that Monday, she called me and she's like, hey, can you come in for an in-person interview with like 3 of the other supervisors on Monday at 2 p.m. same day? And I'm like, I can try to make that work. So I did. And you really have to want it. Um, you really have to want this and go out and just keep asking questions. There's always somebody that can help you. And Alex was a big part of that. So
Oh,
he
thank
gave
you.
me the references and like creating your LinkedIn profile and
Yeah.
linking up with different contacts and stuff.
Yeah, and there may be those who are maybe lean on the introvert side who are watching, and
Yes.
you'll need to step out of your comfort zone a little bit. I'm not saying you need to be an extrovert to get this job, but um, to to get that first job, you may need to be more persistent than you ever have and put yourself in positions that may make you uncomfortable as far as like reaching out to people you don't know, making those contacts and
Yeah,
making it
so like when
happen.
I reached out to like because I wasn't getting anywhere and with these, billing departments and stuff, it's kind of hard to get to someone specifically. I don't know, just like the background of it all, it's hard to reach that person. And with my company specifically and them merging, they're all over the place. We have two different locations. And so they could be at the north location or the south location, and they can't be located.
Oh boy.
um, and so they're not always at their desk and stuff, but it's hard, but you have to be persistent and be like, hey, when they're in office next, just please like make my call a priority or whatever, because those are the words that I kind of used with
Yeah.
some of the people in the billing department. So
Okay. Okay, I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about job interviews and resumes. Let's start with interviews. You mentioned your first series of interviews. You didn't get the job. Had been through multiple rounds with them. What did you learn from that experience? And do you look back at it and say, "Oh, maybe I needed that to be where I am now"?
yeah, so like I said, the culinary industry interviews are far different than these, and so like you're not dressing business casual or anything like that. So yeah, when I went through those interviews and the several rounds of interviews with that first company, they they actually were all Zoom. And so I never went in person anywhere. And my first like two or three interviews were just on the phone. And so I didn't actually start seeing anybody until like that three, four, five interview.
Yeah.
Um, so they didn't really give me a whole lot of feedback on that, but I did feel like it was a good learning experience to really know how to talk to somebody in the professional world, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that was a good learning experience. Am I bummed that I still don't have that job? Yes, because it was remote and they
Yeah.
send all of the equipment to you and
That will
but
come. That will come.
yes, yes.
Okay.
I'm really excited.
And resumes, and let's just lump in applications and resumes together. Did you do anything unique as far as how you positioned yourself? Because you didn't have any healthcare experience. How did you set up your resume as far as adding your culinary and food industry work and make
Yeah.
that apply to all of this?
So I also like in my personal life have some really good what do you want to call them? I can't think of the word, Alex. Mentors.
Okay, yes. Yeah.
Yes, in my personal life, I have some really good mentors, and I reached out to her. Her name's Nancy. She's my cousin, and she has been in this like professional industry for quite a while. Not medical, but educational. And so I sent her my resume, and she's like, "Hey, like I noticed that you didn't um, put on here your famous Dave's experience. The marketing and catering coordinator. Um, you might want to add that because." It still shows like business office stuff. And she goes, um we worked at the Buckle and she's like, that's customer service experience. You know how to talk to people. And people don't just look at it and be like, oh, she worked at the Buckle. Like she knows how to talk to people instead is how
Yes.
they look at it. So when you're critiquing yourself and like the jobs that you've had, it's it's easy to go down that rabbit hole of oh, it's not connected to medical. So the jobs that I was previously applying to with my resume that I had just built using a resume builder, I actually paid to do that. Um, it was helpful, but then she mentioned those things like add this and add that. And so I did. I added everything. And then I started getting more interviews
Well,
because they look at your work experience as a whole also.
Okay.
Um,
All right.
the other the other struggle that I kind of had too though was I was not currently employed. I've been a stay-at-home mom for 6 years. And so that was a struggle too, because a lot of times, or this is what my brother has said, he's a business owner, and he's like, if somebody's job, I don't really want to hire them because they don't have the ambition to work anymore. Um, but I really like highlighted in there everything that I did as a stay-at-home mom too,
Yeah.
because there's a lot more
Yeah.
that goes
Planning and
into.
coordinating and yes, yes.
Yes.
A lot, a
So I
lot.
put all of that in there, and they, the company that hired me really did say that like that helped too. Just instead of just putting stay-at-home mom, like
Yeah.
domestic engineer or
There you go.
homemaker.
Oh boy.
So dress it up and tell them everything that you do because not everybody realizes what you do.
Yes, I love it. Well, no doubt that you will inspire others. There are many stay-at-home moms who will watch this and feel and to be inspired to and believe that they can do it because you've done it, which is amazing. Abby, what would you say to someone who is considering starting this career path, this journey? What would you tell them?
Don't give up. It may seem overwhelming, but eventually it'll all come together. Um, and so I was just kind of flying by the seat of my pants. The other thing I will say is my husband likes to call me his guinea pig, because ironically, he's going into medical coding too. And this is the piece I wanted to say. Watching him go through his journey, and he is currently in school for it full time. And his current job is working on like aircraft brake systems and stuff like that. So he decided, he watched me struggle finding a job. And so he's like, you know what? I'm going to start applying for billing jobs, just entry level. So places that he knows does coding so that he can get his foot in the door prior to completing his schooling. Now, going to school and working is tough, but that's what he is doing so that he can eventually become a coder. And ironically, he applied for a what is it called? Just data entry for the same company that I went 5 rounds with, and he got the job.
Oh, funny.
So
Uh,
he's just gonna do data entry for them, and then the plan is to become a coder for them once he's done with his schooling.
well, he's setting himself up, right, to get right
Yeah,
in.
but he only knew that because his guinea pig
You're the
kind of,
pioneer.
yes, in our family anyway.
That's
So,
right. Well, Abby,
but
thanks so
yeah,
much for sharing your story. I appreciate that. And good luck as you continue on your new job. We'll have to check in with you down the road and see how your career evolves. There's so many paths that you can take.
there is, there is. So thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks, Abby. Bye.